How's it going, everybody? It's PLA. We are back with another FPL live stream, the last of the 2021-22 season. We are here today on Twitch to talk about how the season went overall. We're going to be looking at a bunch of different things. We're going to talk about our predictions and differential picks as we normally do. We're going to take a look at how the table shaped out for teams. We're going to talk about teams that were newly promoted as well, briefly as well. So congratulations to Nottingham Forest to be the third of those three, and commiserations to Huddersfield. Potentially could have had a penalty or even two. So yeah. We'll take a brief look at that as well. We'll look at what our goals were for the FPL season last year as well. I set out 5 goals or things that I should take a look at, and we'll kind of compare those as we go throughout the stream. And then either on, it's going to be Mondays and Fridays when I post videos, but since I'm doing the stream on Sunday, this is going to go out on a Monday. I think I'm going to post my Premier League predictions or review my Premier League predictions from last season on Friday. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do Monday, Friday, Monday, Friday. So after those 2 videos, it's going to probably be the likes of like price predictions, because it's not going to be very long until we have FPL back up and running, because I think the Community Shield is last week of July, which means Premier League starts in August, and the Premier League, you know, the actual physical site's going to probably be up a month before this season starts, so we're probably looking about a month away, and FPL is going to be back up and kicking. So, and we'll do all of our preseason videos as we normally do, where we look at each individual team. We'll take a look at those as well. So, but yeah, before we get into it, let's talk about our partners who've been with us for the entire season. So, Fantasy Football Scout have been with us the entire season. We hope to have them back as well next season. They've been fantastic. They've helped elevate my FPL game. I got my first top 10k finish. Spoiler. But yeah, they have fantastic stuff. They're continuing to grow the members there, so make sure to check them out. We will have, hopefully, the preseason link as well. So you can get that discount for the preseason. So make sure to keep an eye on that as well. So thank you to Fantasy Football Scout for the season, and hopefully many more to come. Now, without further ado, let's see how we did on the final week of the 2021-22 FPL season. How's it going, Zodiac? Glad that you could join us. So yeah, 72 points was the final total for us on this FPL season. Not many clean sheets this week, which is weird, because the pillars of my season, or at least I think what it was that I had a lot of really good defenders for most of the season that were getting very high scores. The likes of Reece James and Chilwell come to mind. But this week was the triple Spurs. Kulusevski, Son, Captain, Kane definitely paid off for us in this week. Matip was an absolute hero for me in the last few weeks as well. And the likes of Robertson and Reece James' assist at the very end almost cost me that top 10k finish, but we ended up on 9488, so that's 9,488, 2,628 points total. We ended up with a small 500 place increase on the green arrow. And funnily enough, I took a brief look at one of the sites that we're going to be using today, and my worst instant transfers was the final game week of the season, because Matty Cash and Coutinho, who we got rid of from Mount and Azpilicueta, both scored. So it is what it is. But let's look at the team overall. Definitely played our best goalkeeper in Schmeichel. Unfortunate, only to get 2 points from him. Trent and Matip, 2 and 7. Was probably one of the best final days of the season ever, with the City and Liverpool going head to head. City looked like they were all over the place, and then Liverpool were just like in there 1-1. They looked a bit shaky. I think potentially had Liverpool scored and gone 2-1 up while City were still 2-0 down, may have panned out a little bit differently for Liverpool. So definitely interesting there. Then Saka got himself an assist. The Spurs boys, 24 points from Son was fantastic. Was the captain of choice for the week. Kulusevski with the 16 points as well. Did really well. Glad I hung on to him. Kane got 10 points as well. So not too bad there either. And then there are 2 disappointing players, was Azpilicueta and Mason Mount. We brought them in for a total of 4 points, and we got rid of Matty Cash's, I think, 7 points or something like that, and Coutinho for his 7 or so points. So yeah, not great there. Lost out on that quite heavily. And then Eddie Nketiah on our bench, and Pukki could have played over Cancelo and Laporte, and that would have got us an extra 6 points total. But it is what it is. all things considered, very happy with the FPL season. If we look at, we'll take a look at how our game week history is here, and we'll see like some of the highlights. So like we started off really well, which actually brings us into one of my rules for this season. The first rule I had, if you go back and look at my video from last year, rule number 1 was get the first week right, and we did that. We literally ended up 55k off the bat, getting 110 points. It was a really great week, so we got that one bang on, which was quite nice. And then we were never outside of the top 100k. Our lowest ever was 88k. We had 2 kind of baddish red arrows. Then we had a ridiculous green, and then we had the wild card. After in game week 8 got us a green, and then it just kept getting better and better and better. We had several greens in a row, and then we looked down the bottom towards the end of the season when we were kind of waning and kind of waiting and wondering for the bench boost. You can kind of see we took a few heavy red arrows in a row, and then the free hit week in 37 really burnt us. So yeah, that got that kind of caused some problems for us at the end of the season. We'll see that in some of the charts that we'll be seeing. So overall, very, very happy with the season as well. Definitely much lower of a position than we were for the majority of the season. So like pretty much this whole section here from game week like 10 to, oh, that's way too far. That's way too far. That's way too far. Game week 10 to game week 36, so 26 game weeks. So we're looking at like 2/3 of the season at least. We were nowhere near like flirting with like potentially exiting the top 10k. So bit disappointed for the slight decrease, but we still kept in the top 10k, and that's still a really good achievement. You have to think of it in the context of everything as well. There was a lot of postponements, so if you're on the bad end of them, don't beat yourself up about it. There's also 9.1+ million players, so in the grand scheme of things, the top 1% is what? Would be 91,674. If you're in the top 91k, you should consider it a very, very successful season. Unless you were like, I don't know, 10th in the world or something, and then in the last few days you went down to 91k. That would be bad. But you can, like, top 1% is what you're probably looking to do every season. Top 10k is kind of this old dream that everyone had from before. It's kind of seen as a benchmark. Don't really think of it that way. Look at the top 1%. So top 100k would have been is a fantastic finish, I think, given this season as well. And like Zodiac said, I got very mixed feelings about this season. Yeah, it was a weird season with the postponements and stuff. I was on the more fortunate side. We also had an extra free hit this season as well. So that was something to kind of, you know, think about and take into consideration. Wouldn't normally have had that. So how did that help people with Game Week 37? Probably a lot more than normal. Yeah, all things considered, very happy about the season. Was very fortunate. We'll also see the one of the web pages I forgot to do as well was FPL review. That was another web page that I forgot to do, so I'll bring that up on the side as well. All of these web pages I will make sure to put in the description for the video when I go to post the VOD on Monday. So if you want to take a look at the exact links for all of these are fantastic tools to see where your season went good, where your season was bad, where you went wrong, where you went right, all sorts of things like that. So wait for that to load, and we'll bring it over afterwards. But yeah, all things considered, really enjoyed the season. Really thought it was a very good stepping stone. I mean, if you look at my previous position, so I've had 2 seasons before this where I've been playing seriously. One was on the one before this one, the 19-20 season, was on a different email, basically, that I just don't use anymore. So I had it was around, I think I finished like 34k, 33k, something like that for that first season. Then I had a really bad season last season, which was also split up as well due to fans not being in the ground and that sort of stuff as well. So I had a real bad season then with the 727k finish, but I had a lot of fun on the last day of the season. I think it was no fans basically that whole season really, and then this season obviously with the 10k finish. So yeah, had a really good season, had a pretty good season, and had a disastrous season. So we'll see what the 22-23 season brings along. Has FPL review loaded? It has. I'm gonna put this over here. That's FPL review there. Let's put this back. We'll come back to that in a bit. Right. Let's take a look at our final predictions of the season. So we got our predictions tweet. I'm going to have to adjust that. So let me maneuver this a little bit here like that. We'll adjust this. Bring this out this way. Bring this up that way. There we go. Right. So we got the predictions tweet there. So, all things considered, on the last day of the season, there's usually a goal fest. And that's basically what happened. I didn't take that into consideration. I don't think I had any teams in all my predictions, just looking at it really quickly, mainly because I don't really do it often, is to predict like 4 or 5 goals for a team. And there was actually a few of them in this week as well. So, very, very interesting. We have all of our predictions on our notepad here from the previous game weeks, and we can see how our scoring was. In the last few weeks, we've done okay, but we have had double game weeks, so been quite fortunate there. So we'll take a look at that as well. But let's see how we did. So if you aren't familiar with how the scoring is, we do this every week, or mostly every week. 3 points if you got the exact score right, which I'm not sure if I did on any of them. 1 point if you get at least a result right, and 0 points if you got anything else. So, surprised I went for 1-1 with Arsenal when Everton celebrated. Arsenal had something to play for. Yeah, I mean, that's true. I don't know why I went 1-1 for Arsenal either. I think I may have done... Did I do the predictions before? No, I think I did them after. I must have done them after. So, yeah. I don't know why I did that. It was really weird. But, oh well. We live and learn. We live and learn. I should have predicted probably like a 3-2 or something. Martinelli and Nketiah, yeah, that would have been really good. So, yeah, 5-1 for Arsenal. We predicted a draw. Got that one wrong. Brentford Leeds looked like it might be a draw, but then Leeds with a late goal ending up staying up in the Premier League over Brentford. So, happy for Leeds there. They're much a more exciting team. No offense, Burnley fans, than Burnley, to be honest. The problem with, I think, now is for Burnley, we'll just touch on them for just a second, is they might just continue to drop, which is not something you want to see. You want to see a team bounce back if they can, but you don't want to end up like a Norwich, as an example, who are just kind of like a yo-yo club. They kind of just go up, down, up, down, up, down. Not really something you want to see. I think one of their... I'm not sure if it was their owner or their director of football said something along the lines of like, oh yeah, we as long as we're like the 23rd best team in between the Premier League and the Championship or something, we'll keep staying up, which is it's kind of really, really weird. It'll take Burnley 5+ seasons to come back. Yeah, we might never see Burnley back, to be honest. We might not. So, who knows? Brighton versus West Ham, 3-1 Brighton. As a United fan, very happy because that means we got Europa League. But I predicted 2-2, so I got that one wrong, unfortunately. Looked like it was going to be 2-1 to Brighton initially, but after they came back. Antonio's goal was a beaut, by the way. Newcastle versus Burnley. Speaking of Burnley, Newcastle were 20th for the longest season. I think personally, I'm going to talk about the manager of the season for a second here, as well as the player and young player of the season. So Phil Foden got the young player of the season. I think that's fully deserved. Fully deserved. I have no qualms about that. You could have picked Saka. You could have picked Foden. either of those two, I think, would have probably been fine. But I think Foden probably deserved it more because his team won the league. And he was instrumental to how City's style of play was with the false nine kind of rotation thing going on there. Player of the season, I have not as big of a fan of. De Bruyne, yes, was excellent, but I think it was a bit of recency bias. De Bruyne was only really good probably second half of the season, like on his absolute best. And we can take a look at that if we want to, like points-wise for FPL after in a second here. Actually, I'll do it right now. Let's go to De Bruyne. So, De Bruyne. So, like, if we looked at his points, okay, yeah, he got a goal, some bonus points versus Burnley, goal versus Liverpool, okay, fine. Game week 19 is about like the halfway mark. He got 2 goals versus Leeds, okay, sure, fine, but was injured here. Only 13 minutes there, 23 minutes there, 16 minutes there. Like, really, really inconsistent. Missed these first 3 games. It was only, like, from 22 onwards where he was, like consistently playing 90 minutes and really good. And obviously the 4 goals in everyone's mind kind of pops up. But those were the only goals he scored since game week 32 as well. That's also the first time he's ever scored a hat-trick plus since his days at Wolfsburg, I believe. So genuinely, I don't understand that part. Whereas if you look at Salah, Salah was pretty much consistent. Yes, less so in the latter part of the season. So if you look at Salah, I mean, was just scoring for fun all the time. Then AFCON hit. He missed these 2 games here. Then was, 1 goal, 2 goals, none, 1. Then had a drop for 3 games, then scored 2, and then didn't have any for 5 games. So you probably say towards the tail end of the season wasn't ideal. So again, it's still a bit of a fault there. If you look at Son, I mean, Son was like, he had 2 games, no goals there, 4 games, nothing there, then scored 4 in a row, then 4 off. Then Son was very streaky in that sense, and towards the end of the season was very, very good. I think personally either Son or Salah should have gotten it, hence why, and they also won the Golden Boot as well. So me personally, I think that one of them should have got it. KDB would have probably been like third on this. Like Zodiac says, KDB was weird. But spoiler alert for my predictions, I actually predicted KDB to win the Player of the Year, which you'll see on the video on Friday. So where I go through everything. So yeah, that was a bit of a weird one. And then manager of the season. This one really, really baffled me. Okay, manager of the season is based on the Premier League season alone. It's not based on anything else. It doesn't matter if you won the FA Cup, European Cup, Carabao Cup, solved world hunger. All that stuff doesn't matter. It matters what you do in the Premier League itself. The managers that, in my eyes, could have potentially won it was Pep Guardiola, because his team literally won the league. Yes, they have the most resources at their disposal, but they also retained it, which is something that's very difficult to do, and is also quite interesting as well. And not many managers have done that. You then have David Moyes, who had to deal with European football and still managed to get 7th place in a team that not many were expecting to basically do much at all, or thought they were going to be quite hampered by European football, and in my eyes potentially had a better season than Arsenal, even though they finished 2 places lower. Then you have Thomas Frank from Brentford, who had, I think it was 10 million net spend or something like that for their team, and they were just promoted, and they finished what? I have the Premier League table here, actually. They finished 13th. They were comfortable. 2 points out of 12th. 3 points out of 11th. 5 points out of a top half finish. They can definitely compete. So Thomas Frank, I think, deserves a lot of credit as well. And then probably my manager of the season, even though he came in towards the and only really managed from the second half of the season, was Eddie Howe. Newcastle literally won 0 games in the first 14 games of the season. 0. Steve Bruce they were going down under Steve Bruce 100%. Yes, Newcastle got a bit of backing, but when you look at the actual signings themselves, Chris Wood, I think, only scored like 1 goal in his time there. Trippier only played a couple of games before he got injured. Yes, he was crucial in those games, but apart from that, Matt Target, who was a loanee, yes, played and played quite well. So he's going back to Aston Villa, could sign on a full term. And probably the most important signing was Dan Burn. Or one of the most important signings. Dan Burn came in quite cheap from Brighton and really solidified the defense under Eddie Howe. And then Bruno Guimaraes goes without saying. I mean, he's a fantastic midfielder. He could probably fit into any midfield, probably in the top four, to be honest. I think he would fit in well for City, fit in well for United. Even though United's not in the top four, but like the bigger teams, he is a fantastic player. So he was probably the main one, alongside him and Dan Burn. But when you look at that in terms of spend-wise, it's only 52 million, I think, between Dan Burn and Guimaraes. And Guimaraes was 40 of that 52. I think Eddie Howe deserved it because Newcastle were destined for relegation, and Newcastle almost finished in the top half of the table after the fact. Since he's come in, they work so much harder. He's turned Joe Linton into, who was a laughingstock, into arguably the best midfielder in the league in terms of just like pressing and ball winning. So yeah, I don't understand how Jurgen Klopp won, to be honest. I would have put those three ahead of Klopp easy. Klopp came second, cool. You took City to the last day of the season, cool. Yes, your team played well. Your team was playing on other fronts and whatnot. Cool, that's fine as well. But it's not about that. It's about the Premier League. Ultimately, Liverpool fans will tell themselves this as well, if they're looking at the table logically. They drew too many games this season. You look at the number of games that City drew. City drew 6 games. Liverpool drew 8. I would probably say at least half of those games that Liverpool drew, they would look at themselves and say, why did we draw this game? Plain and simple. That's what they would look at. City drew a few games that they probably shouldn't have as well. But Liverpool will look at them and say they probably drew too many. Yeah. Anyway, I digress. We got the exact score right, which I didn't think I was going to get. So I got 3 points for that. I'm scared the prices will be way too high next season. So many premiums more than ever. And many players arrive. Can we afford a good team? Excuse me. Well, I'll talk about that in my price prediction videos, which I'll be doing 4 of. I'll be looking at goalkeepers, then defenders, then midfielders, then forwards. And I'll talk about like the dynamics and what I think is going to be involved for that. That's going to be not this week, Friday and Monday. It's going to be next week, Friday and Monday, and the following Friday and Monday. Thomas Frank used to manage my Danish team. He got fired. Well, he's doing well in the Premier League now. So, yeah. Chelsea versus Watford, I predicted 3-0, that being 2-1. Very annoying goal that Watford scored to wipe out the clean sheet. But because Azpilicueta was on for 9 points until he conceded, which is unfortunate. Those who had Rudiger were very, very fortunate because he got subbed off. And he managed to keep the clean sheet. So just the 1 point there. Crystal Palace, Man United. I didn't even watch the game, to be honest. I just saw Zaha score from Bruno Fernandes assist. Wrap your head around that one. Leicester, Southampton. Predicted the win 2-1, ended up being 4-1, so I got the point there. Same with Liverpool. Still won by a 2-goal margin, but not the exact score, so it's 1 point. City Villa was almost right. 3-1. Not how I anticipated it would go, but 3-1. Got the 1 point there. And then same for the Spurs win. Should have predicted probably more than 3-0. So we got the 1 point there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 to end the season. So we got, so we got over half correct, and we got 1 correct score. So not too bad there. Clean sheet for Spurs. Kepa, unfortunately, not to keep a clean sheet. So wrong there. Sessegnon did well. Barnes and Wilson, all of them returned. So just Kepa. But Kepa did start, from what I remember. So, did he make any saves? Oh no, Kepa didn't play. They played Mendy. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Well, anyway, crossed out Kepa. Didn't get it right either. But yeah, so just the 8 points. So overall, predictions end on a solid. It was really weird because in the beginning of the season when I was predicting my team was starting to dip down, and then when my scores dipped down, so like game week 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I went 2-3-3-4-7-2 into game week 11, and that's when my team really skyrocketed. So it was a really weird kind of pattern going on there. But for the most part, my predictions were pretty up and down. There were large lulls basically in my predictions as well. So, but it's just for the fun. So, but we ended on a solid score. This is basically every week on a normal game week. We're looking for 8 points, an exact score, and over 50% correct result. So that's what we went for. But a surprise on the last day of the season was probably City going down 2-0. The second they scored the first, I put out a tweet saying, is it another Aguero moment? And literally they ended up scoring 3 goals inside of 6 minutes. So yeah, it's just City being City in it. Spurs were never going to lose to Norwich. They absolutely hammered them. Leicester showing that they have some firepower that they can use. West Ham will be disappointed on the final day of the season. Then Burnley getting relegated over Leeds. So the teams going down are Norwich, Watford, and Burnley. So commiserations to all of them. And then for teams that are promoted, so Nottingham Forest, in somewhat controversial fashion, have beaten Huddersfield. They won 1-0. Huddersfield, probably the second one I would say is probably more of a pen than the first. But Huddersfield should potentially had a penalty there. But Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth, and Fulham are all being promoted. I'm just glad to see that somebody, one of the big teams, is back in the Premier League with Nottingham Forest, which is nice to see. So Bournemouth and Fulham, all three of them could go straight back down. We will see. I'll do my predictions for that, probably the week of the first game week of the FPL season. So, but yeah, let's put it back up here to the full team. We can move this out of the way. Right. As a Liverpool fan, I was so sad. Yeah, so I'm a United fan, so obviously I don't care for Liverpool too much, right? I don't. But I do have one thing to kind of point out, right? A lot of people were saying that Liverpool, this is the best team the Premier League's ever seen. I mean, it was being gassed up by the likes of Michael Owen, who I guess desperately wants Liverpool fans to like him again or something. I don't know. Right? I genuinely don't know what the situation is there, right? He just wants to be loved by Liverpool fans. And even after the Champions League final was saying that, Liverpool's still the best team in Europe. It's like, well, that's not possible considering they just lost to Real Madrid. And Rio Ferdinand called him out for that, and rightfully so. You saw my tweet, I agree with you. Yeah, so I'm just gonna reiterate it for those that didn't see it. But this is just coming from it. This is just a logical standpoint. This has no bias upon it. If I was a Liverpool fan, which I'm not, and I would be disappointed if I was right now. If I was a Liverpool fan, I would be disappointed. Liverpool played the max number of games this season. Liverpool were very, very good this season. They did very well to be in all 4 competitions, all the way to the very, very end. But let's get the facts straight. You've won every competition once during Klopp's tenure. You've won the Club World Cup, the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, the Premier League, the Champions League. Cool. The time you won the Carabao Cup was this season. You won on penalties. Okay, fine. Penalties are a bit of a crapshoot, but you didn't score a single goal, and neither did Chelsea, and both teams should have probably scored in open play in both of those competitions. Chelsea, I think, probably had more of the advantage in the FA Cup, whereas in the Carabao Cup, I think Liverpool probably had the better advantage for most of the game. Same with the FA Cup, won on penalties. Again, quite fortunate in that situation. Again, scoring no goals in the Cup final against Real Madrid in the Champions League. Yes, you did well in the Champions League, but if you look at the group, the hardest team you had in your group was Atletico Madrid, even though it was the group of death. You had AC Milan, who didn't really kick into gear until probably the second half of the season. Porto, who you should be beating. Atletico Madrid, who United even made it close against somehow. Then you played Inter Milan, who is not the team that they used to be. You played Benfica, who you should beat. You played Villarreal, who you should beat. Yes, United lost them in the final, but Villarreal, they're a decent team, but you should beat them. And then you played Real Madrid, your first reasonable test in the Champions League, and you lost. Real Madrid are very good. If you look at Real Madrid's run, a little bit different. They played PSG, they played Chelsea, they played Man City, and then they played Liverpool. They played arguably the best team on paper in PSG, and were favourites potentially for the Champions League this year, alongside probably Man City. They beat Chelsea, who are the winners last season. They beat Man City, who were finalists last season and the winners of the Premier League. And they beat Liverpool, who were the winners a couple seasons ago, and took Man City to the last day of the season in the Premier League, and arguably are better than Man City. Can't really complain there that Real Madrid deserve to win, I think. I think they're the best team, but not good enough to close it again against the defensive Real Madrid team. Yeah, Liverpool might play the best team, but like Klopp was saying stuff like, "Oh well, when the goalkeeper's a man of the match, there's something wrong." No, you paid the most anyone's ever paid for a goalkeeper or close to it with Alisson. Let's get that right. You paid, I think it was 75 million for Alisson. I think Kepa was 78 or something like that. They're very similar numbers, but you paid a boatload of money for a goalkeeper for good reason. They said Alisson this season is he basically won Liverpool 20 points this season or close to it, which is, you can't complain about that. If Liverpool, what is Real Madrid supposed to do? Oh yeah, we're just going to open up our defense so you can score and win the game, Liverpool. No, that's not how it's going to work. Teams know that Liverpool are much better when Liverpool can hit on the break and they have space to do so. Or they have they can basically get in behind, or they allow Trent to have as much space as possible, and teams don't know how to defend crosses correctly. Fine. Carlo Ancelotti said, well, we're not going to do that. We know Trent sleeps at the back post or doesn't really check his shoulder, and most defenders don't check the shoulder. I thought Konate was actually excellent, by the way, because Trent was obviously playing very high up the pitch, as he should have, and they basically just left Konate 1v1 versus Vinicius. The one time Vinicius gets in behind is when Trent's marking him, and it's a cut across the box, which would look more like a shot from Valverde, but again, Vinicius was there to tap it in. Also, remember, Real Madrid had a goal disallowed. They also had breakaways, which they could have scored on either of those as well. Liverpool had probably Salah's right-footed chance when he was driving in the box and Courtois to make a really close save where he kind of flicked his arm up. The bender from Salah, the left-footed bender, I thought that was Courtois wasn't even fully stretched for that. I think that was probably the second best chance, but Real Madrid had the goal that they scored, which was an open goal effectively, and they had two breakaways, which were literally 2-on-1, 3-on-2 type scenarios, which they could have put the game to bed easily. Especially the one with Ceballos towards the very, very end. So again, you can't complain. I think Liverpool may be the better footballing team, but Real Madrid were the better team on the day. They executed their game plan better than Liverpool did, and you can't really complain about that. And they won. So the stats don't lie there. For the league, Liverpool, like I said, drew too many games for some of them. If we go and look at... I'm just going to go... Because I remember there was a few around, there was a few that were quite disappointing towards the, middle-ish part of the season. This is the middle. So Spurs 2-2. Could they potentially have won that? Maybe, even though it's away from home. Losing to Leicester. Leicester were poor this season. Liverpool should be winning that game. There's your title right there in one game. Drawing to Chelsea. Again, they drew to Chelsea too many times this season. Too many times this season. Okay, they beat Brentford there. Beat Palace there. Then they beat Leicester in the reverse fixture. 1-0 to Burnley they won. 3-1 to Norwich, that's fine. No Liverpool game there. 1-0 to West Ham, okay, fine. 2-0 to Brighton, 2-0 to Arsenal. 2-0 to Watford. 2-2 to Man City. Okay, fine. It is Man City. It's also away from home. You'll take a draw. 4-0 to Man United. I mean, that's pretty standard. 2-0 Everton's fine. 1-0. They won a lot of these games. I think it actually might have been the beginning of the season now that I think about it. Let me go to the beginning. Okay, they smashed Norwich, sure. Beat Burnley. 1-1 to Chelsea, okay. Again, they should have... James got a red card this game. Chelsea did really well. Liverpool should have won this game too, even though they didn't. They should have been looking to win that game. They beat Leeds, fine. They beat Palace, fine. 3-3 to Brentford. That'll be a game that they'll be disappointed. They could have lost this game too, the way they played. But they should be beating Brentford. Again, 2-2 to Man City, sure. 5-0 to Watford, fair enough. 5-0 to Man United, fair enough. 2-2 to Brighton at home. That should not be happening. Brighton are a very good footballing team, but that should not be happening. Losing to West Ham. Don't care how good West Ham are. You shouldn't be losing to West Ham. 4-0 to Arsenal. 4-0 to Southampton. Everton 4-1. And then we're back to there. Yeah, so a few of the games, like the draws against City. So there's 4 draws against City and Chelsea. Okay, fair enough. But like the draws versus Brighton and Brentford and the loss to Leicester, those 3 probably ring in my mind would say, yes, those 3 teams are very good at playing football. But realistically, you should be winning those games. You really should. Right? City will probably have a few of those games like that as well. So they have 2 games which they drew to... to you. So you'll probably take the draws against each other. But City also lost both games to Spurs. That's an extra 2 points that City probably should have had. They should get at least a draw out of Spurs. Every time. But Son and Kane in the second one. Son in the first one. Oh, didn't drink all the water. So, yeah. So, and then you look at the Champions League that you did win. So, there was 3 finals that you were in. You're in the one versus Real Madrid where Salah was injured. Or got injured during the game. That's a bit unfortunate circumstances. You have the Champions League final, which you won versus Spurs. And then you have the Champions League final, which you just lost to Real Madrid. Real Madrid were probably the better team. Yes, probably down by the injury in the first one. But definitely the better team across the 90 minutes in the third one. The second one, the game was over after a minute when they called a penalty. And you also played against a Spurs team that had to go through Man City and somehow make a comeback versus Ajax. And we're probably pretty fortunate to be there. So that's still fortunate circumstances there as well. And then you have the Premier League, which was cut by the stoppage and then Project Restart. Now, yes, Liverpool were out in front before the stop. But I think that potentially, like after Liverpool came back from Project Restart, they were a completely different team. They were much worse than what they had been. And they kind of took their foot way off the gas. So I probably think that one was probably the most wrapped up, I would say, out of all of them. But Champions League was won versus the Spurs team. I was lucky to be there. FA Cup and Carabao Cups that you won were on penalties, both of which you could have lost in regular time. The Premier League, you did well to win that when there was fans in the ground. I do agree with that. I will say that. And probably, hadn't it been for the stoppage and then the whole Project Restart thing and, you know, lockdown and all that, you would have probably went on and won the Premier League because City were quite poor that season as well. But, I mean, it shows what happens when fans aren't in the ground as well, because United came second, and everyone thought United was this great team coming second. Get Varane, Ronaldo, and Sancho, and then United look rubbish all of a sudden. So, again, I think that season also has to be taken with a pinch of salt, just like this FPL season too. I'm not going to take for granted that, you know, I got top 10K, but, again, there was still stoppages and whatnot. There were fans in the ground, but there were still stoppages for teams. So, anyway, I digress. Again, the main takeaway of all this is that everyone thinks that Liverpool was this great, best team of all time, dominating. They've won one of each trophy. Fine. You want to dominate? Retain a Premier League title. You want to dominate? Win a Champions League and a Premier League in the same season. You want to dominate? Win the Champions League and the FA Cup double. If you wanted to go like that. Do it again next year. Like what City do. City's won 4 out of the last 5 Premier Leagues. That's domination. That's Premier League domination. The only time that they didn't win it was when Liverpool won it. 4 out of the last 5. So, and then City would be the only team. If City win the Premier League next year, they'll be the only other team other than United that have won it 3 in a row. From my recollection. But, yeah, so I'll digress on that. Let's get into more FPL stuff. Apologies for the rant. Yes, I'm a United fan, so it'll probably seem that I'm probably trying to throwing a bit more shade to Liverpool and whatnot. But I'm just trying to speak from a logical perspective and trying to play the devil's advocate side of things. Do I think Liverpool is a very good team? Like I said in my tweet, yes. Domination, that's not... I don't think that's how you should be looking at it. And also when people say, is Virgil Van Dyke like the best center back in the... potentially ever in the Premier League? No, I can name probably 5. If he, wins another Premier League, wins another Champions League, does it for 2-3 more seasons, then you're looking at him playing the Premier League consistently for 5, 6, 7, 8 seasons, then you can start to say, okay, yes, cool. But yeah, apart from that, that's my whole rant. Well, not really a rant, but kind of sectioned on that. So this is the first tool. So I'm going to post it in the chat as well, so that we can follow along. So PremierLeagueTools.com, Fantasy Picks Analyzer. So this shows you your best and worst captaincy picks. It also shows you where you went right and wrong with your captaincy picks. And now this kind of feeds into my second point of my rules from last season, which was pick the best fixture for captaincy. And if you don't have the best fixture, get them in. So we're going to take a look at that as well. So we're going to go through all the ones where I basically blanked. So 2/3 of the season, I got my captain pick successful. I got 670 captain points, which I think is not entirely great. And you'll see towards the end here, I had, from game week 31 and 38, I only had 3 captains that got points for me, which is interesting. But when I was doing really well, I was hitting a captain every week, mainly because I just kept picking Salah, which is what I should have done the whole season. So yeah. Started the season off right, Salah with 34 points. Salah, game week 2. Let's check the fixture and see what the fixture was. So, game week 2. What were the fixtures? So, Salah had Burnley at home. Were there any fixtures that I would have probably preferred? Probably Man City versus Norwich. Man City versus Norwich would probably have been a better fixture to captain on, I think. Who ended up doing the damage here? Grealish, Mahrez, Sterling, Laporte, Jesus. So who did I have in my team at the time? Also, Antonio and Benrahma did bits for me at the beginning as well. That was another good part of my season. Salah captained... yeah, I think for my team, it's probably the best choice. But maybe if I would have gone De Bruyne, I probably would have still been, a bit upset there. They won 2-0. Mane and Jota scored. Trent and Tsimikas got the assists. So, I mean, to be honest, I don't see there's anything that wrong with that. Maybe if this comes next season, this should be Captain Haaland as an example. Would be the pick, plain and simple there. Then we had Ronaldo in 6 and 7. So let's check that out. Game week 6. So Ronaldo was versus Aston Villa at home, and Salah had Brentford away. I don't know why I didn't captain Salah here. I think it was because Ronaldo had the home fixture. But rule of thumb, if the player is versus a promotion team, you captain them against them. Plain and simple. That was definitely a mistake. I think I was probably blinded by the home fixture. United were awful here, by the way. This is where they all really started. To be honest. Yeah, Liverpool, Salah, Jota, Curtis Jones. Yeah, I mean, this would have been a prime game, especially a team like Brentford who like to attack as well. That was definitely a mistake. Game week 7, I captained Ronaldo as well. Home to Everton. Liverpool played against Man City, so I don't think I wouldn't have captained Salah. Was there anyone potentially that would have been better? Maybe Chelsea, home to Southampton. Leeds maybe at home to Watford, maybe a West Ham, somebody like that. Who did I have on my team at the time? I could have captained maybe Antonio Benrahma. Yeah, this one I don't think was as bad of a mistake. I think, versus the Everton team, which I don't think we're doing that great at the time. I think that was probably more of a correct decision because Liverpool were playing City. I think that probably one made a little bit more sense. So I don't think that one was as much of a mistake as the one in Game Week 6. So we made one major boo-boo. This one was probably more of a kind of a would I captain Haaland come next season? Yeah. Then we went on a streak of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 straight hits in a row, all picking Salah. Then we had 18, 19, 20. Okay, let's see how that one went. So, game week 18, we captained Salah. All right, so let's see. Who did Salah play? Salah played Spurs. This was the week. Did I play a free hit or something this week? No, I didn't. So this was a week where there was just a lot of cancellations and whatnot. So I captained Salah. Who was my vice captain? Oh, Foden was my vice captain. City away to Newcastle probably would have been the better pick, to be honest. Maybe I should have captained Cancelo this week. Maybe this is a mistake. I mean, with the fullbacks now, you're looking at more and more progression from them. Cancelo went nuts in this game too. Goal, assist, clean sheet. And Newcastle were terrible at the time as well. I think Steve Bruce was still in charge. So maybe that was a mistake. That was like next season. If this is Erling Haaland time, or De Bruyne, that's a mistake, I would say. Then Ronaldo, then Salah. Okay. So Ronaldo in 19. We played the free hit. I think this was because I had a few of my players in my team were, yeah, this was when like Liverpool versus Leeds got cancelled and whatnot. So I brought in Ronaldo, who I captained versus Newcastle away. After just seeing Newcastle get pumped 4-0 by City. Maybe I thought the same thing could happen with Man United. City, I don't think City at home to Leicester would have been, a thing. Arsenal versus Norwich, maybe that was the game to go for. I mean, yes, we have hindsight. I probably would have picked United or Arsenal personally. Who ended up scoring for Arsenal in that one? Saka scored twice. See, I didn't have Saka for a lot of it. Yeah, so maybe that might have been an error, but also 6 goals scored. I had Cancelo, Bernardo Silva, and Foden, and they got zilch from that. Cancelo with just the 1 assist, which was very, very disappointing. So that was a bit of a disappointing free hit. Salah 0, game week 20. This is when he missed a pen. Yeah, this week was kind of bad. Salah was away to Leicester. Maybe United at home to Burnley would have been better. Palace versus Norwich. West Ham versus Watford. Yeah, Salah away to Leicester might have been a potential problem. But I mean, I didn't really have anyone that I was confident with, so maybe it was because of all the blanks and stuff. I just stuck with security, and Salah did miss a pen in that game week, so maybe not necessarily an error there. Dennis -2. I remember this one. I definitely remember this one. What was it? Game week 23? Yeah. Dennis had a double versus Norwich and Burnley. Note to self. Do not captain anyone in the bottom three. That's probably a rule for next season. Do not captain anyone in the bottom three. Who are the other potential doubles this week? I think it was only Watford and Burnley who doubled. City played Southampton. Liverpool played Palace. Liverpool always do well versus Palace, so I should have just gone with a Liverpool player. There was rotation here, but who did I have on my team at the time? I could have gone with Jota, because this was when Salah and Mane were off at AFCON, so maybe I should have probably just gone with Jota. That probably in hindsight, that's what I should have done. Don't captain somebody in the bottom three. This was a terrible idea. This week was awful, by the way. So yes, that was a mistake. Veghorst, 27. Let's see. Smith Rowe didn't play. Aitner didn't play. This one, all Liverpool didn't play. Who did City play? City played Everton away. United played Watford at home. Again, maybe I should have gone for... I think this week I was considering De Gea. But I should have definitely gone with a City player, because this is when Everton were... Excuse me. I believe Frank Lampard had come in already, and they were just not great. When did Frank Lampard come in? Because he came in and he lost his first game. I think it was this one, the 1-0 to Villa. Or was it the Norwich game? I can't remember. It was somewhere around this area where Frank Lampard came in. So yeah, maybe that was a mistake. Then 31 through 33. Well, I know these games. These are terrible choices. 31 through 33. So 31. Liverpool versus Watford at home, that's not a terrible choice. I think that's fine. That is the best fixture on paper, apart from City away to Burnley. But I think, again, Liverpool at home versus a relegation team, you pick Salah. Salah didn't score anything, he got a clean sheet, though. Who ended up getting the returns? Fabinho got one, Jota got one. Gomez and Jota got the goal, got the assist as well. So again, nothing really wrong there with that pick. I think that's just unfortunate. It's nothing really wrong there. Then it's 32 and 33. That's when I have Bruno Fernandes, isn't it? Yeah. So game week 32. United were away to Everton. This is when, again, Liverpool were playing City. Is there any other options here? Leeds versus Watford was potentially an option. Chelsea were playing a Southampton team at the time who were pretty much safe-ish. So maybe Chelsea would have been a better team to go for. Spurs were playing Villa, but again, it was away to Villa, so I probably wouldn't have picked that. So I think Bruno was probably about right, but I think I should have probably gone with a Chelsea, like got a Chelsea captain this week, or even, like I said, gone with Rafinha versus Watford. Again, a relegation team, so maybe that was a slight mistake. 33. Man United had Norwich at home, Liverpool away, whereas Liverpool had United at home, or just United at home. So who had the doubles this week? Did Man City have a double? No, they just had Brighton at home. Arsenal had a double versus Southampton away, Chelsea away. So Liverpool didn't have a double, and neither did City. Spurs didn't have a double either. Yeah, so maybe it was United or Arsenal. Salah ended up scoring a boatload, yes. So maybe Fernandes was the correct choice based on my team. And this one, Nketiah burst onto the scene as well. So yeah, I don't think that was necessarily wrong, but the way United were... I mean, United scored 3 versus Norwich. I just had the wrong player, basically. Instead of Fernandes, if I'd have had Ronaldo, and it would have been vice versa the other way, then, you know, I would have probably done better off. So that could have easily been much better. And then 36 and 37. Last two. 36 is when I played the bench boost. Captain Salah, I mean, it was double game week Salah, right? Double game week Salah. Probably should, you know, can't go against it. Versus Villa away, Spurs at home. Kind of covering the effective ownership type thing there. City's double was Newcastle away, Wolves at home. So in hindsight, maybe that's better. If I knew, you know, like Laporte seems to always score in double gaming. Like you look at Cancelo, maybe that was a mistake. I would say that potentially could have been a mistake. And then 37, we captained Son. Son was at home to Burnley. Again, that was a double game week. I didn't have the free hit chip. So he was my only option, really. I didn't have a... I could have gone with Coutinho. Maybe Matty Cash, but I think that would have probably been a bit too risky. Maybe that was a mistake, not going for, like, over Richarlison. Hey, JB Cullen, how's it going? Just going through the season review here. Just going through all the captaincy options. And it seems like I made a couple of mistakes, but nothing too major. Only 2 real massive mistakes, I would say. The next thing we're going to take a look at is FPL Review. So this is another site here as well. I'm going to copy it and put it in the chat. This just kind of gives you a little diagram to show you what your luck percentage and all that sort of stuff. How heavy of a risk taker were you? All that sort of stuff. So if we look at luck percentage, so my variance was very high. So 95.4% across the whole season. So I was very fortunate when it came to you know, players and stuff like that. However, when it came to risk taking, I was on I was quite high up, actually. So for the amount of risk I took, my luck was definitely rewarded, probably slightly more than probably what it should have been. Yeah, all things considered, risk taking, took a few risks this season. Most part played it safe, but when I did take risks, they were quite, like Reece James and Chilwell, for an example. But I was very fortunate as well. Jed Spence 4.5, will we now highly own? Yeah, probably. He might end up being 5 million, who knows. But unless he just goes to a different team. If we look at so yeah, if we look at like the XG data, kind of middle of the road, same with massive EV data, free EV, elite template. I don't really know what these two. I think elite template was how much my team was close to the template for the most part. And it's usually around like 3/4 of my team was by the looks of it. But yeah, it's these two that I'm mainly looking at. The luck percentage was as almost as high as it possibly could have been, but the risk taking was up there as well. So I would have been saying I was really fortunate. Like my risk taking was like bottom 20% or something like that, but it was quite high as well. Now, if we take a look at, so this is the FPL uh, Statistico on a new PLA.net, another website that's very useful. This kind of shows you the breakdown of all your different game weeks and whatnot. Kind of shows you a little preview, but the one nice thing is that it shows you like little graphs and stuff down the bottom here, which we're going to run through. And you could sort out like all your different players that you had across the season, how well they did, and that sort of stuff. We're not going to go through that much detail. One useful thing we'll start off with here is, so this is the amount of goals, assists, clean sheets, own goals, red cards, yellow cards my team had across the season. So the one thing I was getting really annoyed at across the whole season was the amount of yellow cards my players were getting. I got 72 yellow cards, so that means I was averaging just under 2 yellow cards a week for my players, which was very, very annoying. But yeah, I was very fortunate in other areas. Benched 4 of those yellow cards, so not too many were benched. Own goals and red cards, so I had 1 own goal. Who was that own goal anyway? I can't remember. But the 2 red cards, one of them was Dennis. I can't remember who the other one was. And then 124 goals, 87 assists, 87 clean sheets. Only single digits benched, which is very good. Definitely don't want that to be higher. Here's another thing that's cool. Is your average points per captain. So basically when I captained Salah, his average points were very high. 20 points. I captained him 19 times. Bruno Fernandes, I captained him 4 times, average points 20, even though he had 2 weeks where he basically blanked. The other 2 times he basically exploded. Reece James, captained him once, got 36 points. Dennis, I captained him once, he got -2. So yeah, not ideal. Formations used, so my most used formations was 4-4-2 and 3-4-3. And they were my lowest, or one of my lowest points. When I used 3-5-2 and 5-3-2, I averaged quite highly, actually, which is interesting. 5-5-3, that's a bench boost team, that doesn't count. But yeah, very interesting. It shows that like the 3-4-3 kind of died out a little bit, and more of like the heavy midfield or the heavy at the back did much better for the most part. This showing previous season data. So this is my personal best, current rank. My highest game week score was 156. My lowest was 27. That was really bad. Median score was 69. That's very high, which is quite nice. My lowest game week rank was 7.1 million, probably like 27 points. I was in the top 0.1%, which is great. Median game week rank 1.21 million. That is about right for if you want to be in the top 10K or higher. For most seasons, I would think. Here's another thing that's interesting. Double-digit holes. 89 double-digit holes this season. I think that's quite good. From what I remember. Bench double-digit holes 3. So I only ever benched 3 players that got double digits, which is a very good thing. Because any more than that, I would probably lost it. However, 9 times I played the wrong goalkeeper. 9 times, which that moves into our other one of our other points for the season, which was set and forget goalkeepers. That's something I didn't do. I did rotate my goalkeepers quite a lot. So yeah. Probably should have to look at that probably in a bit more detail. So active goalie was this color here, and then the sub goalkeeper was the red one. So if we look at quite often, so in the first part of the season, I had a goalkeeper that basically did nothing. because I had upset and forget 4.5 versus 4 million. I think it was like Sanchez I had in the beginning. And then I started to go with the rotation goalkeepers in the middle of the season, and you can see there was a few times I got burnt quite heavily playing the other goalkeeper. In the end of the season, when I just, kind of played the goalkeeper that I wasn't going to, played the one goalkeeper that I should have played and just had a non-playing goalkeeper, I did quite well. So maybe just a set and forget goalkeeper. I didn't really stick to that, so that was probably a bit of a problem. That's captaincy points per game week. So let's take a look at the chip usage here. So chip usage. Wildcard in game week 8, my points was 64. The average points that game week was 49. So we did well there. Free hit, not really much of a success in game week 19. The triple captain was ridiculous for us that week. The free hit was also ridiculous for us in game week 30. The wild card in game week 35 helped us bench boost, which we did do well in that. But the free hit in 37 got burnt us. So I would say our free hits this season, one was good, one was bad, but one of them could have potentially been for that game week 37, which could have helped us out a lot. We got most of our points from our midfielders, which makes sense. These are our captain points, so the amount of times my captain got 1 through 6 was 11 times. So basically, a return or more, I got 16, 22, 25. So 2/3 of the time, basically, I hit a score, a return of some kind, which was quite good. Average, the game week stages, in terms of points average, better in the second half of the season. That's because there's more double game weeks. My best stages was towards the beginning-ish of the season, which was interesting. Total transfers 47, points hits was 56. Total immediate points gained from transfers 517, which is very, very good. At least that's a positive number. So yeah, and then you can see the total number of points versus average points across that graph there, and then the players as well. So yeah, very, very interesting there. And then lastly, we're going to go through this one here, which is FPL Fantasy Nutmeg, which is a very interesting site. I wanted to use FPL Retro, which we used last time, but that doesn't work anymore for whatever reason. So this shows you your team per game week, and it gives you kind of a breakdown of your of all your different stats. So my best overall rank was 259th. Best overall game week was 28k. 156 total points for the best week. Minus 56 in hits. Transfers, I made 4 goalkeeper transfers, 11 defenders, 18 midfielders, and 14 forwards. So somewhat balanced across the other 3 positions. This shows like the overall rank. So I started way down here, and it shows you the overall number 1, which is this like grayish line here. So he actually started off way worse than I did, but then did really well around game week 8, 9-ish, where he wildcarded by the looks of it. And then got himself into the mix. And then this is the overall top 10K. Game week ranks. So my worst was worse than the overall number 1's worst. So yeah, I had a lot of like pretty badish ranks in the second half of the season as well. Whereas like if you look from game week 8 through 13, I just had no ranks below like we're all below 1 million, which is crazy. Game week points as well. You can see here captaincy points as well. Immediate transfer gains. This is a very interesting graph here. So 10 points a game week 3, 22, 22, 1, 2, 3, 0. As long as it's not negative. If you look, the only time we had we had 3 three negatives in all of the season. A -1 in game week 15, a -6 in game week 24, and then a -11 on the last day of the season where we got rid of 2 players that scored. So all of our transfers when we made them were very, very good. In game week 26, we got 92 points from that. That is crazy. What was game week 26? Well, let me check the negatives first. So the negatives were -1 in game week 15. Okay, let's check that. Game week 15. We made 1 free transfer. Jimenez to Lacodia. So that was just a kind of a sideways move, which at the time seemed fine because we were going to free up some money. Game week 24. Alonso and Calvert-Lewin out for Edouard and Eitner. Yeah, that ended up being bad. That was bad. And then obviously the last day of the season. But what was the game week 26? Game week 26 was Edouard and Fernandez out for Weghorst and Coutinho, Salah and Van Dyke out for Jota and Johnson. Yeah, we did really well there because Salah came in and did mega points for us. Because that's when we triple captained him. So yeah. Team value as well. So you can look at my team value wasn't as good. It was like just barely better than top 10k by 0.5. We had 2 million less than the guy who ended up finishing first. So yeah. Very, very interesting stuff. And again, I'll post all of these links down in the description. But this kind of gives you a little snapshot of what I had at the end of the season and whatnot. Very, very useful sites. But yeah. All things considered. A very, very good season. Very fortunate in most cases. But we did take some risks as we saw on the FPL review site. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below as well for how the season went. Our last two points as well, because I'll mention those, is catch form sooner. So we did that with Reece James and Antonio and Ben Rama and Ben Chilwell. We definitely did that. Joel Matip as well at the end of the season. And then stick to the plan. So for the most part, I did stick to my plan towards the end of the season. Kind of unraveled a little bit, which is probably why we dipped back down. And almost got knocked out of the top 10k. But all things considered, we mostly stuck to the plan. We kind of kept ourselves on the straight and narrow. So next season, maybe we go for some rules as well. Maybe I'll talk about that come the season preview for the first game or the first game week. We'll go through them then. I'll need some time to think over, but we definitely did well. We got the first week right. We got captaincy mostly right for the most part. Set and forget goalkeeper, we kind of strayed from a bit, so maybe we need to reassess that. Catch form sooner, we definitely did, and sticking to the plan, we definitely did as well. So, yeah, very, very good. But yeah, so that's probably gonna do it for us. We've been live for over an hour. We'll talk more about the promotion teams and all that sort of stuff in later videos, as well as the transfers. We had a series, the preseason series for each individual team. We'll be doing all of those as well. When FPL is live, I will do a stream that evening, guaranteed. For that, to make sure that we take a look at that as well. Yeah, we'll take a look at that. Before we sign off and go over the big screen, let's talk about Fantasy Football Scout one more time. So yeah, hopefully we can keep our partnership with Fantasy Football Scout next season. They were fantastic. They help elevate my FPL game. We can hopefully get you the 20% off that we could talk about as well. That's always nice to get things cheaper, which is quite good. Hopefully some of the FPL players are cheaper than what we expect them to be, so we'll keep an eye out for that as well. But yeah, thanks to Fantasy Football Scout for partnering us this season. Hopefully more partnerships come in the future. But now, let's move over to the big screen. So, that's going to do it for the FPL season review. Thank you all for watching. Remember to like, favorite, subscribe, comment, follow us on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, PilotFlame226 on all platforms. We'll be back next season. Make sure to take a look out for the video coming on Friday. That's going to be my review of what my season predictions were. I don't think they were great for the most part, but we'll take a look at those. We'll be doing videos Monday to Friday, unless FPL is launched. And then from then, we'll be looking to do our preseason series like we did last offseason as well, where we look at the transfer strategy of each team, look at the prices of each player. We'll do a stream the second we go live. I'll make my team on stream. I'll look at all the prices, all that sort of stuff as well. And we'll go through that. We'll also do a video for when the Premier League fixtures are announced, which is going to be on the 16th of June. So those are the videos you have to look forward to. We're also going to do, so not this week not this week Friday. So this week Friday will be our look back at our predictions for the 2021-22 season. Then on Monday, Friday of the next 2 weeks, you're going to see goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, and forwards on the Monday and Fridays for price predictions. And then so that's next week. So that's that and that, that and that. On that Thursday as well, before the forwards price prediction, I'll be doing the reaction to the Premier League fixtures as well. And then from there, depending on when FPL gets launched, we'll have maybe a week or two before that happens. And then we'll go from there. Kind of play it by ear, but make sure, like I said, to follow us on all our platforms so that you can know when we go live and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for a fantastic season, and until the next one, take care.